What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Predicting Tranquility. This is the third week, and it's been fun so far. This last week was a lot closer, a lot less 4-0s. There were a lot of 4-0s week one. But this last week there were a lot of closer score lines, and I think it's starting to be at the point where we're able to talk about these teams a little bit closer. We know more about them. We're able to get like more accurate predictions and stuff. So I'm excited. I think that this is going to be the best week so far of the season. Mark my words. But if you don't know what predicting tranquility is, we're gonna cover all 41 matches, all 82 teams. This time officially because the graphics actually work. Yay! um,
Don't jinx
so
it.
yeah, we'll be covering every single team in the tournament. And if you don't know my co-hosts, we have Dexatron and we have Ryan. How you guys doing?
I'm doing good.
As good as I can every Monday night. Let's just say that.
Hey man, love being here every single Monday. Um, but yeah, that pretty much covers it. One last thing actually. Make sure that anybody who is interested, the prediction form is in the Discord, the tranquility.gg Discord. Multiple places. There's a couple channels that have it, and like Yeti linked to it in a couple other places. So if you're interested in joining in on the competition, links are provided. I will be closing the form at or like right before the Harmony tier feature, so you can cut it close if you would like to. But yeah, as soon as the Harmony matches start up, I will be closing the form. And at the end of each week, we will be doing the leaderboards, so that's exciting. But yeah. So without further ado, let's dive straight into the first group. What do we have in Harmony Orem A? Ryan.
All right, so starting off, we have Clairvoyance versus Ragnarok Freya. All of us going 3-1 in for Clairvoyance. Next, we have the Basement Dwellers versus the Gatekeeper. We have myself and Dex both going on the side of the Gatekeepers, but Nerf is with 3-2 on the Dwellers.
Mhm.
We have Aimbots versus Colorado Carbon, with Nerf and I both going 4-0. Dex coming in with a close 3-2 Colorado Carbon win coming up. And all of us coming together, Onigiri versus the Council with a 4-0 victory on Onigiri. So coming into this, I think the two games to really talk about, actually, I think the most interesting one is going to be the Clairvoyance Ragnarok Freya.
Mhm.
Myself, because I still think Clairvoyance are looking good, but I don't think they're as good as we are thinking. I think they still have a lot of room to
That's
grow, and
fair.
I think Ragnarok Freya are growing themselves as well.
Mhm.
So I could see this being closer than even a 3-1.
I definitely could as well. I think that I don't know. Freya are interesting to me. They are a team that I want to be able to predict. But last week they had a pretty tough loss against the Aimbots. And that's kind of where like my prediction comes in here was because Clairvoyance 4-0'd Aimbots, but Aimbots 4-0'd 4-0'd Freya. So it's kind of like like an associative property type thing. But I Freya, I think given time will be doing a lot better than 1 and 2. They took them all season last season. But eventually they did end up getting to the point where they were like a top 8 teamish. So I think give them some time, and I think they could be at a similar spot this season.
Yeah, I'm kind of right there with you, Nerfed, about this matchup. I went 3-1. I gave Ragnarok one map here. I thought they would at least take one. But
Hmm.
just like you said, you look back at these two teams and said that, and you realize right away, they have both each played the same team. One was 4-0, the other was 0 Ford. And that's just kind of why I went 3-1 here with Clairvoyance.
Yeah. You said did I think you said there was another match, right, Ryan? Or
Yeah, the second
yeah.
one is going to be the Gatekeepers versus Basement Dweller.
Yay. I wanted to talk
I
about
knew
this
you
one.
wanted that.
I wanted to talk about this one. So, Basement Dwellers looked surprisingly good against Clairvoyance last week. They took them to 5, and that was something that, Clairvoyance started off strong. They started with a 4-0. Not something that I particularly expected to see. I had this one like marked down as just a quick, easy 4-0, Clairvoyance in and out. But Basement Dwellers put up a fight. They put up a really good fight. I think that this team has like kind of found their footing. They found a comp that they're good at, and I think that if they keep running that, they can start to move up the tiers. So an 0-2 start is not ideal, but I think that they're starting to find their footing, which is good. And on the other side, Gehenna have just put like was it 2 or 3 players I believe they put on leave of absence. So definitely, and they just lost last week to Onigiri. So definitely some struggles coming out from the side of Gehenna. And I think that these are two teams that are trending in opposite directions. I really liked Gehenna at the beginning of the season, but they're starting to struggle a little bit. Whereas Basement Dwellers, I wasn't super high on them at the beginning, but they are impressing me as the weeks go on. So
No, I'm with you. I hope they're going to impress us because I mean I kind of did with the same thing you looked at. I said, oh, they lost. Gatekeepers lost only one map. They took a map off of Onigiri, and Basement Dwellers took 0 maps off of Onigiri.
mm-hmm.
So hopefully they're right. They're going to get hot, and they're going to keep improving as the season goes on. That would be awesome to see. But
Yeah,
I'm not sure. It's still week 3, so who knows what could happen.
definitely true. Any other thoughts on this pool, or are we good to send it on to the next one?
No, I think the other 2 maps are pretty cut and
Yeah,
dry.
yeah. I think Carbon are a team to watch out for. I think that they have a lot more going for them than most people would give them. And I definitely respect the pick Dexatron. I did not have the courage to do it. But I was thinking about it. It was in my mind.
Yeah, I really only made this pick because Carbon was on stream last week, and I was actually able
Mhm.
to watch them play in their game
Yeah.
there, and they looked really good. And just like
Mhm.
I was looking at records here, both teams are coming into this one 1-1, and I just kind of thought, based off the momentum that the Carbon got last week, that they would be able to carry it into this week. I
Mhm.
did forget that BethCon plays for that team, so if I had remembered that, I probably would have made sure it was a 4-0 for the aimbots, but
Damn.
because I forget names and who plays on teams a lot, I went with the Carbon here.
I think if aimbots allow Nuki, the one of the DPS players for the Carbon, to let loose, they're gonna have a tough time in their hands. So
Yeah,
definitely a match. Yeah.
yeah, they definitely they have a lot of good flashes, but I think their issue
Mhm.
is they don't string those together. They need to
That's
keep
fair.
good flash, good flash, good flash instead of
Mhm.
one good thing, 3 bad things, one good thing. But I mean,
Yeah.
before I think they were at all bad things and they're getting better. Now they're at one good thing,
Yeah.
maybe 2 good things, 3 good things. It'll keep going.
Yeah. They're definitely improving. They're on the up and up. So definitely a team to watch out for.
Mhm.
But I think that pretty much covers this pool. Let's send it over to Orem B. What do we have here, Dex?
Well, in our first matchup, we have the Pew Pew Plunderers versus Exhilaration here. And across the board, you immediately see us all go 3-1 in favor of the Pew Pew Plunderers there, which I'm honestly surprised that without any communication between the three of us before this, we're all going the same exact way, considering this is a 1-1 matchup. But I think we just kind
Yeah.
of looked into the teams that these two teams played to get to these records here and kind of realized like how good they truly were. Then next matchup here, we're all kind of all over the board on this one with Doodles and Luminous Foxes. You nerfed are the only one to actually go with the Luminous Fox here in
Because
a
of course I am.
3-2 victory for them. But crap, I forgot your name, man. Was it
Ryan.
Ryan? I'm so sorry. Ryan's the only one to actually say this is going to be a 4-0 sweep for the Doodles team, which was talked about greatly in the Iris podcast before this one. Then you have Posley, Aggressive, and Pause Champ, all going 0-4 there for Pause Champ, and this was a team that I believe had a lot of debate between Navino, Bowsy, and I'm forgetting the other person's name.
Janelle.
Yeah, John L there, of whether or not Paul Champ was a contender or a pretender, especially with
Mhm.
one of the teams that they played with earlier in the season or last week, even having missing a decent amount of their players on it.
Mhm.
And then to wrap it all up here in RMB, Flashbacks and Chicago Mafia, we're all going across the board here that it's going to be Flashbacks winning. I just think that the Mafia are going to be at least able to take one map off of them. I've watched the Mafia play a couple times last season, and I feel like they're able to muster up one map win, but that's going to be really all they get from them.
That's fair. Mafia have definitely they've taken maps off of every team so far. So who's to say that they can't this week?
Yeah, and they have a hard. If I remember right, they have a pretty hard roster or pretty hard start of the season.
Yeah.
I mean, so they had the Doodles last week. They had where were they? Luminous
It's
Foxes, and now
Doodles
they're going.
Luminous flashbacks.
Yeah,
And then I think they play Pause Champ at some point. They've got it.
yeah.
They've got a really really tough schedule. Um, but they've at least put up fights against everybody so far. So that's good.
Yeah, but like of these 4 matches here, I mean, other than 1 or 2 matches, we're all pretty much on the same page. Actually, no,
Mhm.
only 1 match. There's one person that's not going the same way as everyone else.
Yeah.
Nerf, do you want to talk about Doodles and Luminous Foxes here?
So yeah, I have well, just like,
Come on, look. Even
uh
I wasn't a Doodle believer, and I even put a 4-0 in the Doodles for at least one.
well, so I got the Luminous sweatshirt on. I got my nails painted Luminous colors. Yesterday I bought like a whole bunch of like Valiant skins, which like are the same colors as Luminous. Um, I'm playing a match for Luminous tomorrow. In fact, I got rostered recently. You know, that's
We'll just leave it. We'll
if
just
that
leave it
doesn't
at that.
explain to you why I picked Luminous, I don't think anything else will.
No,
Uh,
I'm with you. I mean, I think I talked about the last 2 weeks that I think Luminous has a very good team. The preseason they looked very very good. I don't know what happened at the start of the season, but they definitely just need to pick the pieces up and start going again.
Yeah, and I
Yep.
completely understand you picking Luminous. I'm just surprised you didn't say 4-0 Luminous since you're now playing for them.
I would never go for see when I see my bias is always going to be like a 1-3. It's never going to be a 4-0 bias because that's not, it's too far. I will always like make it close at the very least. But yeah. Um, bias. Bias is why I picked the Foxes. But we did beat Doodles earlier. And this is kind of becoming a rivalry match. I mean, it's a different roster than it was back in season 8, but Doodles versus Luminous was a very fun match back then. I think 2 out of the 3 times so far it's gone to 5. So hoping that we can keep up that rate. But that I think is pretty much everything else in this pool. It's all pretty straightforward besides that one match. Although I think Exhilaration could be sneaky and take some maps off of PP Plunders, but you never know. So going over to Indigo A, the first match is such a banger. Geometric versus the Koala Kings. This is going to be a great match. Definitely watch the feature tomorrow because it's going to be crazy. I really badly wanted to give it to Geo, but I think just Koala Kings have built an insane roster. So I went with a 3-1, although I love my boys over at Geo. Dex and Ryan making it a little bit closer. Dex going 3-2 in favor of Geometric. Love to see that. And then Ryan, sorry, going 3-2 in favor of the Koala Kings. The next match is the Fighting Potatoes versus Chrysalis. This is interesting that I think that Chrysalis have played fine so far. And I think that we're still yet to see Fighting Potatoes. So despite being opposite records, I think that this is going to be quite different than how the records would look. I went with a 3-1 in favor of Chrysalis. Ryan and Dex going in favor of the Fighting Potatoes, 4-0 and 3-1 respectively. And then the final match is Makos versus Insidious. I went with a 3-1 in favor of Insidious. I think despite being 8-0 maps or 0-8 on maps, Insidious look really strong and they've played the 2 best teams so far, or 2 best teams in their pool. So not their fault. Dex, however, giving it 3-1 in favor of the Makos, and Ryan agreeing with me in 1-3 for Insidious. And then, like I said, last match is not a match. It is Swordfish getting a forfeit match. Win against nobody. So the elusive Team 32.
They're the
Um,
best team out there. Let's be honest. They'll never let us down. We
The
always know what to
best?
expect.
The best. I
I
would argue they're perhaps maybe one of the worst teams ever.
Look, they're just they're starting to
whoa.
cook. They're warming up. Okay, you can't count them out.
I am waiting for the Team 32. The messianic like they will come and they will be unbeatable when they do. Somebody better actually make a team named Team 32. That would be funny as that would be so funny.
I mean,
But
I mean
looking
that
at a real match, Geometric versus Koala Kings. This is crazy. This is such a good match. The Harmony Finals rematch from last season, and then Geometric what they did was they signed pretty much the Koala Kings core from last season. Koala Kings pretty much signed a Discord All-Star team. So I think that this is going to be a fun one to watch. But what are our thoughts a little bit more closer than just the scores on this one?
Yeah, I kind of struggled with this one, to be honest. Because both, you're right, both teams, they have all stars. Both teams have
Mm-hmm.
very good players. Both teams have cores that have played together many seasons on many teams. This is probably going to be, it's possible to be almost a championship match going into
Yeah.
this, if not one of the final matches again. And every time they play against each other, it's always something that you have to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like I was back and forth on 2-3 Koala Kings or 3-2 Geometric here. Like I went with Geometric because I remember that there was a lot of talk about this team before the season, in the preseason, and just talking about how good that they were last season, how the players they lost, they were able to get players as good, maybe even better, to fill their roster back up here. And both these teams, like I recognize both these teams. This is one of the few matchups this week where I recognize both teams by name. They both come in this one 2-0, and I just had to give the edge here to Geometric. Well, this probably shouldn't be something I'm talking about since I'm casting the game tomorrow and don't want to have a
Ooh.
biased. I
Ooh.
did not. I forgot who I was I forgot that I was casting tomorrow, so I'm just gonna stop talking there.
People watching tomorrow will have already forgotten, I'm sure.
Yep.
You think?
I will say something about one of these
Mhm.
matches. The Chrysalis match. Just
Okay.
going back. So potatoes, they've been around. They've
They
always
have.
been a pretty middle of the tier team. They've been in the Elim pools a few times. They've been in tier B a lot. Chrysalis, I think, always have potential. The one thing I worry about, I don't know if you guys saw, but Red Mudkip just left. So that's their
Mhm.
flex support player, I want to
Yeah.
say.
Mhm.
Losing your flex support player and looking at their roster, they only have Mr. Box playing support right now and two flex players. And I know one of the flex
Mhm.
players, I believe, is Tank, and I think the other one might be DPS. So I kind of worry about how they're going to come into there. And I think Fighting Potatoes have a chance to kind of flip the script and show, they got a 4-0 the first because of a forfeit, and then they won last week, right? They're 2-0. Am I wrong? Yeah, they're
Yeah.
2-0. Yeah, so
Yes, but
yeah,
both are forfeit
both are
matches.
forfeits. All right, this Cinderella story I think is still going. So I'm all for this. I'm all
All
for the
right.
potatoes now.
Keeping the dream alive.
I mean, okay. Here's what I'll say. I'm a fan of Chrysalis. I think that this is their best roster since the season 7 like Chobi era. But last time we saw Fighting Potatoes take on the Chrysalis roster was season 8, and it was not the way that people predicted. It was Fighting Potatoes, I believe, 4-0. And that was like the only win they got that season. So definitely a match that historically has been an upset. So one to pay attention to. But I think that this is me personally. I think this is Chrysalis. Um, but you never know, especially since we haven't seen the Fighting Potatoes roster yet. But I think that pretty much does it here for Indigo A. So let's just send it straight over to Indigo B. What do we have, Ryan?
All right, I get to call out the Mets gaming versus my boys disclosing.
Woo!
We're all for disclosing. Me giving the 4-0. Both Dex and Nerf coming in with the 3-1. Next match, we have Strix versus the Fire Breathing Rubber Duckies. All of us on the side of Strix. Dex thinking it's going to be close. Nerf and I both giving a 3-1. Just single map score to the Rubber Duckies. Next, we have Galactic Penguins versus Ares. All of us on the side of Galactic Penguins. Dex thinking Ares is going to take one map off of them. Nerf and I saying the good old 4-0. And the last match, we have Eminence versus Jersey Boys, which is this backwards, I think.
Yeah, it
I was going to
is.
say, okay, we all are in
Yeah, it
favor, I
is.
believe, Jersey Boys and Eminence taking the loss. Myself thinking Eminence is going to take one match off of them. Dex and Nerf giving the 4-0 over to the Jersey Boys. All right, so I think the best one to talk about here will be the Fire Breathing Rubber Duckies versus Strix. Strix is coming off; they're hot. They're kind of keeping the same kind of pressure they had last season. They're coming in here with beating Eminence 4-0, and last week going against Mets, giving another 4-0, which everyone was hype on. Everyone was on the Mets train. Fire breathing rubber duckies, I think, is definitely looking better, but Eminence took it to them a little bit. They got the one, but it was not an easy win last week. So I wonder if there's a little more improvement fire breathing can do. Maybe they're not as hot. Maybe it's an off week. What do you guys think?
All right, Dex, you look like you were gonna say something. You can go ahead if you want to
I
start.
mean, like, main reason. Wait, so main reason I went with Strix here, even though I really do think the fire breathing rubber duckies could win this one. I casted their week 1 game, and I really did notice a big improvement in fire breathing rubber duckies. But there was just they kept on making small mistakes constantly throughout that first series. And while they did improve it on in their second week game because they won, I just still just think Strix is just probably a little bit of the better team at the moment.
Mhm. I like both of these teams. However, I think fire breathing rubber duckies have not struggled, but they've been a little bit lower than I would have expected. And Strix is a lot higher than I would have expected. I don't even know why that is. I don't know why I was like not as high on Strix at the beginning of the season, but I wasn't. Well, actually, I know why. It's because I was an Eminence fan, but that has not come to fruition yet. Um, but I think Strix have looked really really strong in both of their matches, getting 4-0s in both cases. Whereas Fire Breathing Rubber Duckies, a core that has been together for a while. It's like all the like players from Ace High last season, and then a couple others mixed in. I think that they look really good on paper. Their roster is really really solid. I think they need some time though to gel together. And I think Lexi is their only coach. I think give her some time with this team, and they will start to look a little bit better. But yeah, definitely slower start than I had expected from Fire Breathing Rubber Duckies, despite being 1-1.
No, definitely, and I think you're right. And Dex, I was with you. Mine was basically looking at the Cassid match, and I was like, oh my god, they're keeping it so close with Galactic Penguins, because I think all of us
They
thought
were,
Galactic
yeah.
Penguins were like on the high. Everyone was like, Galactic Penguins, they're coming out there, they're going to win this thing, and they kind of took it to them. It wasn't an
Mm-hmm.
easy win. So I think they are a good team. They may have had a little step back a week, but maybe this is the rebound week. Maybe, as you said, Lexi is going to kick them into shape, and they're going to come back.
Never know. Definitely a great squad. So
Week 3 of what, 14 matches? So anything can still happen.
yeah, yeah, we're very much in the early days of this season. Um, but I think any other final thoughts on this group, or am I good to send it up to the Discord tier?
I'm just glad you guys are believing in my boys this closing this week.
I have to. Mets didn't impress last week.
Yeah.
So and Disclosed did. So good job them. But yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. So let's go straight into the Discord side of things. What do we have in Orm A Dex?
So in ORMA, our first matchup here is Wildfire and the Tampa Bay Tryhards. We're all going Tampa Bay here. I'm the only one who's thinking that this is going to go 5 games. Everyone else is thinking it's only going to go 4. Next game, MI7 versus Space Created. Again, all going the same way here of MI7. Ryan's the only one that's saying it will go, at least one map will go to Space Created here. Then you have Thunder Duckies versus the Pukin Dogs. Again, all going the same way here with these matchups. And then you have Reminiscence versus the Discord tiers Team 32 or TBD. And while we have scores there in favor of
No,
apparently TBD beating Transcendent or
no.
Reminiscence here, we're all going with Reminiscence because they're not playing anyone.
Look, I'm telling you, Team
So
32, they're going to win this, all right? Like, they are the ones take down
so
Rim.
okay.
Hey, you said last time Team 32 was cooking. They're cooking like ice cream in an oven. Terribly.
So just like context, Laggy and I were working today on getting this together because obviously last week we didn't have the four match sheets. We got it all together, but then we realized, oh crap, we got to get the Sheets.io, which is like the program that like runs all the stuff so that I don't have to do any work. We had to get that up and running so that all the correct files are in the right place and whatever. And well, it took 4 hours. Well, I love you, Laggy. Thank you so much. But it definitely makes sense that in those 4 hours there would be some mistakes. I can't change that. The other one I did, that was like me. That was me picking Eminence versus Jersey Boys. I can't control this one.
No, you're
So
good.
those should all be NA. But
You're good. But
well, I guess they're NA in a different way.
you're good. But like, I mean, we're all on the same page here with who we all think is gonna win this one,
Mhm.
which surprised me immensely going into this one that we're all going the same way, because the research I had for this tier was absolutely none. I was just going based off names. I was trying to find any and all results from previous weeks on the website. They aren't there. So I was just taking shots in the dark with this one, but I'm so happy you guys are all on board with the picks, or we're all on board with who we think's going to win. But of these three games here, which one like actually like is the most interesting game to you, or one that you guys think could just go the opposite way of how we all picked?
I know which one I think. I know about you, Nerf. I think
Well,
the
so
rubber ducky one, or
Rubber ducky.
that's maybe because Puck and Dogs did, or Puke and Dogs. I've still haven't learned how to say that. They lost a Space Created, which was rough. But I think that like Space Created just like are also a good team. Um, I'm excited to see Wildfire and Tampa Bay Tryhards finally out of prison, because they've both had to play Reminiscence and MI7 back to back, and I'll tell you that's not a recipe for success. Uh, that is a terrible schedule. But this week they get to not be in literal prison, so hopefully they hopefully they're able to finally get something done in their. I'll say their first real match, because it's not exactly fair the other two that they've played.
right. But I mean, if they can come through, if they come through that gauntlet and then they come out still swinging, then
Mm-hmm.
that shows a lot of heart coming out of this. I'm not gonna lie. Like any team that'll keep fighting after that, and we'll admit, for those two teams, I think they are definitely one of the top teams in all of Discord with
Mm-hmm.
MI7 and Reminiscence. But if they're coming out on top, they're still swinging, making a run for it. Whew.
Yeah,
I'd look out whoever's on the next team going after them.
that's momentum right there.
Yeah.
Definition of it. Um, but yeah, I think that the Thunder Duckies Puke and Dogs match could also be pretty good. Um, I'm still a fan of Puke and Dogs, regardless of a rough showing last week.
Yeah, the one thing I worried about them this week, and I think I would have said a 3-1 for Puckin, but they just put what Boone Core on
Oh, they
Leave Out
did put
Absent.
Boone Core on. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of Boone. Boone, my heart goes out to him. Great player.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully going to come back week 5 and be good. But that was the only thing I think it's going to make a little bit closer for the teams is just Boone not being there.
Yeah. So we'll have to see how his absence affects the team. But I believe they will be okay. I don't know. They've got a pretty solid roster. I think that they will find a replacement that works out pretty well for them. Um, I think that just about does it for this pool. It always sucks with the MI7 and Reminiscence pool, because there's not a whole lot to talk about with those two teams. It's like the Guangzhou Gangsters effect, where I'm just never gonna give a map to the other team they're playing until they drop a map. So it's like, well, or I guess week 5, where we're gonna see Reminiscence versus MI7. That'll be fun. But for now, all 4 O's except for Ryan. But going over to Orem B, here we have Ragnarok Loki versus Jellyfish. Myself and Ryan going 3-1 in favor of the Jellyfish, and Dex going 3-1 in favor of Loki. The next match is Trigonometric versus Paradise Lost. This is going to be another banger. The Geometric Org has some great matches this week. I went 2-3 in favor of Paradise Lost. I really want to root for Geo, but they have such tough matches this week. It's so sad. But I could definitely see both of them going their way. Regardless, I went 2-3 in favor of Paradise Lost. Dex going for the full 4-0 in favor of the Paradise Lost, who, yeah, they haven't dropped a map yet, so that's fair. And then Ryan going 3-1 in favor of Paradise Lost. And then our next match is Culture versus Royal Throne. I think this is backwards, but I'm not sure. I don't really remember what I put for this match, but 1-3 for me and Dex in favor of Culture, and Ryan going 3-1 in favor of Royal Throne. If that sounds right to you guys, then I guess it's not backwards.
I know that's what I put.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then I guess it is right. I honestly I was so back and forth on this match that I couldn't tell you which what I picked. And then last match is a forfeit for Redacted, who yeah.
Woo, 4-0, let's go.
Woo!
Woo!
Ryan doesn't have to be biased this week because his team wins no matter what.
Heck
But I
yeah.
have to be biased. I'm not gonna talk about that match though. That's boring to talk about bias on stream.
I don't have
So
a team.
let's talk about Trigonometric versus Paradise Lost, because I think that Trigonometric are like a very sneaky team, and Paradise Lost have a great squad. These are both like what I think like definitely top 6 teams in I believe most people's power rankings. Um, but Trig, I think, are like kind of the fringe team, whereas Paradise Lost have secured a spot. I think this is the week where if Trig want to prove themselves as a dominant force in Discord tier, this is the match they're gonna have to do it with. Because they can beat Culture or Redacted or Jellyfish or Loki or whoever, and that's not gonna prove it. But beating Paradise Lost, that's a statement. Or even playing them close, because they are yet to lose a map. So what are we thinking on this match?
So I could tell you. I mean, because you just saw me playing against Paradise Lost.
Mm.
So I was for Paradise Lost. They were honestly one of my top 3 teams. I was for it. I said, you know what, these guys could be in contention. They're going to win. You know, I think that they're going to be a hold up against Rem and MI7 and keep everything. The one thing I learned from playing them is they do make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
They do have times where they're very good at the macro gameplay. Their whole team together is really good. I think it comes down to some of the micro stuff. They have their issues, and that is definitely a time that Trig can prove themselves and take advantage of those and kind of beat them out. Now, Trig's roster, I'm just not sure fully. They have really good. I think it's going to come down to Pineapple versus Neo and trying to remember who the other tank is on Paradise. But I think it's going to come down to, honestly, the front line of which
Mm-hmm.
team's going to be able to hold that front line better against the 2 teams, because I think the DPS are going to be able to pop off the same as each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and honestly, for me, like this was, I knew Paradise Lost was a good team coming into this one. I knew Trigonometric was a good team as well, but I just feel like, I've casted Paradise Lost a couple times before, and it's just like you guys have been saying, they are a good team that works really well together. I just don't think wow, Trigonometric
It's
is
rough.
isn't
It's a tongue
yeah.
twister.
Math stuff, trigonometric is not necessarily fully there at the moment. I think they're still
Mm.
kind of building up their entire team play and their synergy. I think at the moment right now, Paradise Lost is probably one of the scariest teams here in the Discord tier.
Yeah, definitely fair. We've only seen one match so far out of Trig, and then I guess the rest is Scrimbucks and or name recognition. But I think that this is definitely a roster that they're going far this season. Mark my words. But yeah, I could definitely see this being a pretty one-sided for Paradise Lost potentially. We saw a very close match last week, Wildcat Boys versus the Beat Drop Bears. That was a 4-0, but uh it still like seemed pretty close. It was 2 good teams playing against each other, so you never know. I am the believer in the close 4-0. I'm also a believer in the not close 3-2. But but I think that it could definitely could be close regardless of scoreline. But I think that pretty much covers this pool, unless you guys have any other final thoughts.
Does Ryan, do you want to talk about your Royal Throne pick? You're
Yeah,
going the
that's
opposite
actually
of both
yeah.
me and Nerfed.
that is actually what I was going to say. So
Okay.
Culture, they had a rough first game. I'll say that.
Mm-hmm.
They had the bye last week. Thought, hey, they're going to come into this. The one thing that worries me is always they're looking for players, because they're looking for 2 DPS players right now, it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what worries me with Culture is, do they have, how's going on with their core team right now? We haven't really seen a lot of Royal Throne, but it kind of scares me of cultures. They're still looking to get the roster back together. I know
Mhm.
how it is with Redacted right now with our DPS lineup. So I have the same worries that they have that I have. So
Mhm.
that was all I went with Royal Throne. Royal Throne's still a very big unknown team to me, and I think that's a
Yeah.
big unknown for everyone.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. Because I think yeah, both of these teams are they're the teams that have received. Actually, no, they're not. I thought Culture got a bye, but they didn't. But yeah, Royal Throne are definitely an unknown. Um, I think Culture still have a lot to prove for themselves as well. So we shall see. Um, but yeah, I think with that, we're good to move on. So let's send it over to Indigo A. What do we have here, Ryan?
Going in there, we have Adrenaline versus Avalon with Nerf myself giving 3-1 to Avalon. Dex coming in with a close 3-2 to Adrenaline. Next, we have Blobfish versus Beat Drop Bears. All of us on for Beat Drop Bears 4-0. Next, we have Maelstrom versus the Wild Wind. All of us going 3-1 on the side of Maelstrom. And last, we have the Wildcat Boys versus UV Rays. All of us on the side of the Wildcat Boys. Myself thinking UV Rays is going to take one map off of them. So we're all pretty close on everything. We're all
Mm-hmm.
together. I think Adrenaline Avalon is going to be an interesting game, honestly. I'm an Avalon.
Yeah.
I'm an Avalon fan. I said that I think from the
That's
beginning. They have
yeah.
a good roster. I think Adrenaline also has a good roster. I think they could be sneakily good. So this could be close. Like it could be a 3-1 in my eyes, but I think it could even go to 3-2, or it's going to be a very close either way.
I mean, Adrenaline definitely played to their competition. They've gone to 5 2 times in a row. I think that personally, I think that Avalon, cause that style works. But then like you play a team that is like coordinated and knows what they're about, and I think that that's Avalon because they have so much synergy from having played for almost a year at this point, probably more. I don't know how long Avalon have been together, but they were definitely a team last season. And I think those are the teams that are able to beat the style of like playing your competition. So I think Avalon will be able to handle Adrenaline pretty swiftly. I think.
Mm. And like you said, or like Ryan said, uh, main reason why I'm going with Adrenaline here. Adrenaline's gone to map 5 twice now. They could be looking at a 2-0 record right now, but just ended up losing one of those map 5s. And I honestly thought this was a game I went back and forth on several times before I
Mm.
actually hit submit on this one here, because I've seen Avalon before. I know they're a good team. Adrenaline, a team I've never seen before, but for some reason I was just drawn to picking them this week, and I want this to happen. Like I want them to win. Hell, I would love to see them 4-0 this, but I just think Avalon is a good enough team to not allow themselves to get swept.
Yeah. I think definitely they won't be getting swept. I don't know if they play beat drop this stage. But if they do, that would be the only time I can see that happening.
No, I don't. They don't play them.
Okay, so they will not be getting swept this stage. You heard it here first. Um,
Love it.
um, I think the other three matches are pretty straightforward. All very similar score lines coming out from us. So let's just go immediately into the next pool. For Indigo B, what do we have here? Dex.
Well, starting off, we're all going Tempest and Tempest versus Poseidon 3-2. Ryan's the only one that fully believes that Tempest is just gonna uh, sweep Poseidon in this game, while me and you, Nerfed, think this is going to be an incredibly close game that goes the
Yeah.
distance. Then you have SEAL Team Spuds and Phoenix. Again, we're kind of split on this one. Nerfed, you're the only one here going with SEAL Team Spuds. Me and Ryan going with Phoenix. But all have the same score line of 3-1. Just one of us picked a different team. Uh, then you have the Cosmic Castaways and Pride. Again, this is we're all going the same way with who we're picking, but we have three different outcomes or three different results in the final score there. And then you have Error going up against that team that's apparently cooking something awful right now, Team 32.
Like I think I don't. I'm not gonna pretend to know what numbers are which. It doesn't. It's the least important thing. Um, Probably Team 30. I don't know.
Yeah, but like we're this is I like this group for us right here because we all every map we can have one or every match we can have one person talk about why they picked differently from everyone else. As for myself, the Tempest and Poseidon one is one that I'm staring at just as one that I'm actually kind of surprised that I'm going with Tempest here because I've seen Poseidon play before. I've seen him play in two different leagues. I
Mhm.
know how good the Poseidon team is. I just don't know how if people have left the team or people have joined the team. And Tempest is a new team to me, but again, something like with Adrenaline, something just called me to this team here to have it be a very very close series, but them just to get the edge over Poseidon in game 5.
Yeah, I will say right now, my score except to give it a 4-0. I thinking about it now, probably is not going to be a 4-0. I just think looking at the Tempest, I think I've been very big fans of them. I think both weeks, and I've been supportive of Tempest. They have a very good roster, but the spaghetti, they just keep fumbling it. Like I
Yeah.
think that's what just keeps happening. Like I have a lot for it now. Poseidon just picked up Vaulty on DPS. I think they have a very solid team now, especially picking up Vaulty. Um, but I don't know. I want Poseidon to prove me wrong. I really do. I mean, I love that org. I love Murph. Love everything about them. But I just don't know.
Tempest make me sad because they're 0-2. They've had a rough run of things, and their roster's really solid. I think they just need some time. They they went through a rebrand and such. And I think that kind of has impacted the players a little bit. That's my theory, at least. Um, I think that give them some time to like find their footing and they'll be really good. But for right now, they've been struggling, so it's definitely very unfortunate. Granted, this is a tight pool. I think that the 1 seed all the way through like the fifth or the sixth seed, hell, all the way down to the like seventh seed. I think that they're all like very close. Castaways are my favorite to win the pool, but I think that like everything else in between is like very very close together. So you never know. But I have been very much so not disappointed in Tempest, but it's just unfortunate to see them losing when I have such high expectations for the team.
I know
Um,
I'm with you on that. I think Cosmic Castaways are sneakily very good in this pool.
yeah, I think
Like,
I yeah.
I was like watching them, like their roster just keeps getting better. Like
Mhm.
I think they're starting to grow. They're starting to mesh together. I know in this one, I think this was the one, the Cosmic Castaways Pride. I wasn't sure if it was going to be a 3-1. I know Cosmic Castaways. I was on their side for this, but I really wasn't sure if Pride was going to be take 2 maps off of them. They still could, but I think Pride's got a really good roster as well. I think Cosmic Castaways are just sneakily getting better and better and better, and I'd
Mhm.
be excited to see what they're going to do in even stage 2.
Yeah, definitely. Um, yeah, altogether, very, very close stuff from this pool. Definitely the pool to watch, I think, in Discord tier. 'Cause I think the other three are definitely not as tight as this. I think that there's definitely like you can see like the gaps, the tier gaps in those other pools, but right here I think that there is none. Besides maybe Castaways, but we'll have to see. This is definitely the match where they'll prove themselves if they can beat Pride. Um, but yeah, I think that that's pretty much it. Do we have anything else we want to talk about for Indigo B?
No.
Sounds good. Then we will move on to the Transcendence tier. So here in Orem we have the Devil Dukes versus Reckless Delta. I went for a 3-1 in favor of the Devil Dukes. Dex going 3-2 in favor of Delta, and Ryan going for a 4-0 in favor of Devil Dukes. The next match is Nightmare Outlaws versus Oath. I went for a 4-0 for Nightmare Outlaws, who very much impressed me last week. Ryan agreeing with me, and then Dex going for the 3-1 in favor of Oath there. And then our last match is Fleet Angels versus Guangzhou Gangsters. And like I alluded to earlier with Reminiscence, Guangzhou are going to be one of those teams where you don't give the other team a map until Guangzhou has lost a map. So, yeah, yet to lose a map, and I'm not predicting that they will anytime soon. So
Yeah, Dex, this is you're the boldest person in this one, I think.
Yeah, I realize that.
yeah.
I realize that, and now I have to talk about these teams here a little bit. Honestly, like I've seen both Reckless Delta and Devil Dukes play. I feel like Reckless Delta, even with being 1-1, Devil Dukes being 2-0, and it was brought up towards the end of the Iris podcast. Are the Devil Dukes a contender? I think both Navino and them said that this team is a contender. Reckless Delta wasn't talked about in that thing because they weren't
Well,
2-0, but I feel like Reckless Delta here could be a team that surprises a lot of people this week. If you want any reason for that, look out into the ether because I don't have one for you at the moment. uh, but I like the Devil Dukes. I know are a very good team. They have been for a while. Reckless Delta, I know they're good. They're 1-1, and I really think this week I think they make a lot of noise and upset Devil Dukes here because as you guys right there aren't necessarily really giving Reckless Delta a chance here. I'm thinking it goes the distance. I think somehow in some way Reckless Delta is gonna come out on top on this one. And honestly, if you want to know my opinion on the Oath and Nightmare Outlaws game, that logo is just scary. So Oath it is.
that is fair.
They have my thing. That thing will haunt my dreams for a little bit. I know that, and probably will haunt my dreams even harder knowing that they that I picked against them.
That wasn't supposed to happen, but we're on Azure. Um, yeah, I could
Shall we
definitely
just
see
keep
that.
going?
Yeah, let's just keep it rolling. What do we have in Azure, Ryan?
Right, so we'll start off. So we have Amnesia versus Hades. We have Nerf and myself giving 3-1. Dex going 3-1 on the side of Hades. Next, we have Classified versus Just Better Inc. Nerf saying it's going to be a close match, 3-2 Just Better. We have Dex going 4-0 to Classified, and myself giving a 3-1 to Just Better. Oof, scandalous. The last match, we have Hammerhead versus Wyverns. All of us on the side of Wyverns, myself giving the 4-0, both of you guys giving the 3-1 to, or one map to Hammerhead. Yeah, I guess if we shall, we can talk about the Classified Just Better Inc.
Yes, because this is scandalous. Like you picked against your
Okay,
team, Ryan. What is going on here?
I can't leak anything. No, I know both these teams. So Just Better Inc. Classified, they're so good. They have all the players. They
Uh-huh.
need everything. I expect a lot from them. I think the last 2 weeks, they need to prove themselves better. And like I've talked to them about that. Like they are a very good team. They just need to get everything kind of put together. Um, as I said before, they have a lot of good moments. They need to start stringing these good moments back together. Like last week, they had a really good chance to win that game, and it just came down to single fights here, single like fight lost there. Words. And they just kept making small mistakes that added up. Now Just Better Inc. Gambito, that was on Redacted last year, is the manager. Kaide and Decrypt were on another team that was in our org, so like I know that roster. They're definitely a good team. I think that they can do a lot better if they stop playing down to teams. I think they're definitely playing down to teams instead of playing up to their potential.
Interesting.
So there's a big chance that they're going to play down to Classified, and I think it's going to be actually a closer match than that. And the chance that Classified, if they string those things together, could actually overtake it.
I'm going to say thank you for going first on that one there because I'm definitely the one that has the most interesting pick in this game right here.
I
Yeah,
can see
but
it.
yeah, but I'm gonna just piggyback off what you said here. You're scared that you're afraid or feeling that Just Better Inc. might play down to Classified here a little bit. Uh, like I saw Classified was coming into this one 0-2, but I know they're a good team. I know that entire org is good. So I had a feeling like those first 2 weeks, maybe they just had a couple unfortunate things go their way. I feel like this is the first week that they finally get some building blocks in the right direction. Maybe I'm wrong with the score of a straight sweep. Maybe it's a 3-1 or a closer 3-2. But I feel like this is the week that Classified finally gets the wheels turning in the right direction.
Yeah, that's fair. I think,
Th-
yeah, you can go ahead, Ryan, if you want
Dex, you could have just said you're my biggest fan, so you thought it was gonna be a 4-0. I would have taken that
to.
100%.
Ryan, I don't want to let you know I don't know what team you play for.
Um, I think Classified looked strong last week against Amnesia, and then they played. I believe they played Hammerhead week 1, right? Or was it Wyverns?
They played Classified played Wyverns week 1.
Oh, so they're fine. Yeah, they've had a tough schedule. Those are the I would argue the two top teams in this pool. Um, so I think they'll be fine. They have definitely a lot of room for improvement, but they've had a tough schedule, so never know. Um, believe that should be it. So let's just go into Indigo. What do we have for our final pool, Dexatron?
Well, in our final pool here, we have the Billings Boomers versus Singularity. You're the only one, Nerf, going with the Boomers here in this
Shocking.
one. Then you have Revital and the Hive Mind Holophytes. We're
Woo!
all going the same way in the with the team and the same way in the score, which is something even crazier is that we all think it's gonna go 5 games. And then we have Throwing or Bad versus Frost Nova, where we're all going the same way, thinking Throwing is going to be winning this one. But I'm the only one thinking it's going to just stay to those first 4 games. But just looking at this right here, let's talk about your pick here of the Boomers, since you're the only one
Sure,
riding with the Boomers here in this matchup.
sure. I think that Boomers are the favorites to win the pool. And I don't think that's a hot take. I think that a lot of people would also say that Boomers are the favorites to win the pool. I think Singularity have it's gonna sound like Cope, but I think Singularity have had they've had their 2-0 is not reflective of how like where they are. I don't think because I think they played a struggling throwing or bad last week. I think I should stop saying I think. But yeah, that's my opinion on that. And then against Halifites, like yeah, it's gonna be Cope. I'm sorry, but we didn't have Sticko, and we were adjusting to capital, whatever. No, we're destined to lose, but like
Just bust out the violin right now, so just start
yeah.
playing it.
So Halifites, I think that was a close match and not the best circumstances. Again, Cope. I will own that. Definitely Cope. Um, but then I think that their match against Thronger Bad is not exactly indicative of where they're at. So I think that Singularity are still looking to prove themselves.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Singularity, I believe, to me, and I think you're right. I think this is going to be a 1 or 2 teams. Like I think that's what it's
Mm-hmm.
going to come down to. Billing Boo Boo, Singularity, who's going to be 1, who's going to be 2. This match is definitely going to determine that. In my eyes, I should say. Billing Boober bringing in Rhinos and I think just bring in Rhinos and Tositos, I want to say,
Yep,
which is very good pickups right there coming in. They also dropped 2 good players in my eyes. So
that's just Boomers. They cycle through players.
yeah, or I should say that's marsupial orc kind of thing.
Real.
I feel like. But yeah, so I mean it's interesting, especially seeing how the new players coming in, and yeah, they beat Throwing or Bad, but that doesn't really say much about them.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Um, were you gonna say something, Dex?
No, I was just going to talk about the next game of Revital versus Hive Mind here. I mean, we're all saying
Yeah.
Hive Mind, but we're all saying at the same time 3-2 in favor of Hive Mind. So we all think this is going to be a very close game. Is there anyone here that necessarily thinks that it could be flipped the other way with Revital potentially able to maybe sneak out a win here?
Um, so I'm looking at
Me.
like thinking about that. Like last week, they lost. Vital came out, they lost. I had a big feeling they were going to. They were down. Tissue, who's their captain, and they were down Turtle and Tizo, who's been out both weeks, and it's against the Billing Boomers, which again, very very good team.
Mhm.
Hive Mind again. you said was down. Oh no, they're down what Sticko week 1.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So they're down Sticko. They have Capital in there. So Hive Mind also has a very good. So I think it's going to come down to how big of effect will Tissue, how big of effect will Turtle come, like coming back. How will they affect the team compared to the other players on Hive Mind? I think Orst can carry Revital.
Yeah.
Orst is a very good DPS, definitely very big carry potential there. So I think if you can get them cooking, there's a real good chance Revital is going to take a W on that.
I can't. I'm not allowed to speak on this match.
Understandable. But
Fortunately.
yeah, like I mean, these teams both come into this one 1-1. You guys have said they've both been missing players. I feel like it's going to be a close game. It's anyone's. I feel like it's anyone's game. And honestly, this one kind of just came down to a coin flip for me.
Uh-huh.
Which I'm thankful it landed on Tails to go with Hive Mind because I did not want to be the only one not picking this one the same way.
um. No, I'm not. I was gonna speak a little bit on the match, but it's probably best that I don't. I just don't think it benefits anybody if I do. Um, but and I'll leave it at that. But that pretty much covers it. That's all of our matches. All the teams have been talked about now. So let's get into the top 5 from this week. So for the week 2 top scores, in 4th place we have a tie. Yeah, with Phoebe Wonder from the Wildcat Boys and Sticko from the Hive Mind Halithites. Then in 3rd place we have Capital, finally returning to his reign. 3rd place is Capital with 53 points. 2nd place is Potato from the Doodles at 57. And then in 1st place we have Fish with 61 points. And that kind of is a little bit indicative of our overall leaderboard. In 5th place, we have Capital 106. He's rising. Not at 1st place yet, but this is actually, believe it or not, the first time Capital has not been 1st place since I took over the show. So finally, somebody has dethroned him. In 4th place is me. Then in 3rd place is Tyler from the Guangzhou Gangsters, 111 points total. Choi Siwon in 2nd place. He's been cooking. He knows what he's talking about on the show. 113 points there. And then in 1st place, yeah, I said it was indicative. It's Fish. Fish has been, I think he was 3rd place last week. Um, and then this week, obviously, he's 1st. And that bumped him up. He's been doing pretty good. Um, so that pretty much covers it. Any final thoughts on anything, Ryan or Dex?
Can't wait to be dead last in the scores this week.
Impossible.
No,
I
Actually,
mean,
you
impossible.
never know. Things happen. Crazy things happen.
That's true.
I mean, there was a map or a game pick that you guys uh, allowed me to change before this started. I'm not gonna say who it was because, oh boy,
It was definitely an interesting, a hot take, but yeah.
it was the hottest of hot takes, and it was truly me being the dumbest of dumb people.
Yeah. So if you want to enter into the competition, be sure to look for the spread or look for the form. It's all over the place in the Tranquility Discord, so you can find it pretty much anywhere. But that pretty much does it for our predicting Tranquility stuff. In terms of stuff to watch out the rest of the week, on Tuesday we have the Harmony feature, Geometric versus Koala King. Such a great match. Go watch that one because it's gonna be so close. Then on Wednesday we have the Transcendence feature, Nightmare Outlaws versus Oath. I think that one's also potentially going to be kind of close. But that like we went over it a little bit on stream. Then Thursday we have Wildcat Boys versus the UV Rays. So be sure to check that one out. And immediately after, I forgot to cover this, but immediately after the feature on Tuesday, we have Silver Slender, who will be talking about. They'll be talking about the Discord tier. On Saturday at 10:30 EST after scrims, you'll be seeing Bronze Banter, who will be diving right into the Harmony tier, all the matches from this week. And then on Sunday we have after scrims tonight the late night show with Lord Thuggington himself. That's on Sunday at 10 p.m. EST, and then again on Monday is me and Bowsy. back-to-back shows. So be sure to tune in then. So yeah, we will be back at the same time, same place next week. But thank you all so much for watching, predicting this week. And yeah, we'll see you next week.